Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be reviewing The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan, the fourth book in the Wheel of Time series. Let's go. So, just to start right off, I am going to be splitting this review into two parts. The first part is going to be spoiler free, so if you haven't read any of the books in the series, that's totally okay. And then the second part will be spoiler filled so that I can, talk about all the things that actually happen in the book. So, I'm going to keep the spoiler free part fairly short just because it is the fourth book in the series. It's a little hard to talk about it without giving any spoilers, but I will say that this was the best book in the series so far, which is really cool. When you're at the fourth book, for it to keep getting better, I know that there's 10 more books after this, one more if you count the prequel, but for it to already be at its best book, like 4 books in, that is really exciting. I really hope that it keeps going, just getting better and better. The biggest takeaway I feel like you can have from this book is the growing of the world. Like if maybe you've only read like 1 or 2 books in the series, let me just say that this book, things get bigger. Like if it's already a big world. Just from the first book you can tell that this is a massive world, but this is where the Wheel of Time really reaches that Wheel of Time level of world building. I'd heard that it was a big world. I'd heard that it's arguably the largest fantasy world in existence. I saw that in this book. It gets huge, so be prepared. It is worth noting that this is the longest book in the series. I believe total, this is definitely the longest up to where I've read, and I believe I saw at one point that it is the longest book in the series, just totally. And so that definitely something to keep in mind, I guess, if you're going to be reading it. But that's pretty much all I have to say regarding spoiler-free section. Other than if you're really thinking about picking up the Wheel of Time, I would highly recommend it. Obviously, don't start with this book, but start the series. Start with Eye of the World. It is such a good series. I obviously haven't finished it yet, but at least up to where I'm at, it's phenomenal. Highly recommend it. So now to jump into the spoiler-filled section. So if you haven't read any books in the series, don't go any further. I'm going to start talking about all the spoilers. The biggest thing that shocked me about this book would have to be Perrin. Just Perrin, just the name Perrin. No, I'm just kidding. But Perrin really shined in this book because up to this point, like first of all, I hadn't really even found Perrin that interesting until book 3 because you get so much exposure to him that I really kind of started to enjoy him as a character. But in this book, he shines. He is so interesting in this book, and I feel like the biggest reason is like you get that development after he finds out that his parents were killed, and he just grows from there. He just becomes just this maniac. He goes on a spree, on a Trolloc hunting spree, and I'm here for it. I was so here for it. Perrin's story was so enjoyable. You also have his kind of romantic relationship with Fail. Fail. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce her name. I think it's Fail. Really enjoyed that. The marriage was a little rushed, but I actually really enjoyed that. Overall, though, Perrin definitely won me over. I'm a fan of Perrin now. I wasn't solidly a fan of Perrin before this book, but I definitely am now. My next biggest takeaway would have to be how happy I was to have Rand back in the mix. He was basically absent from book 3, which I understand. You got a chance to build some of the other characters, but it was great to have him back. I mean, he really is the focal point of this whole universe, so you gotta have some Rand in your book, right? And so he was a really big part of this book. It was so cool getting to learn more about the Ale, or Aiel. I think it's Aiel, actually. I think that's how you say them. The Aiel, through their culture, you get to learn about them through Rand. The introduction of Avienda as a character, I like her. I like her a lot. So, because before, I feel like Elaine was my favorite of like all the potential love interest for Rand, out of Egwene, Min, and Elaine. I really liked her. But Avienda, she might be the more interesting character. We'll have to see. But I really enjoyed the both of them. Elaine, I also really enjoy as a character. Her story in this book was fairly interesting. Not as interesting as Avienda's, but it's a little unfair because she was kind of paired with Rand the whole time. And then you kind of had some cool stuff going on with Matt in this book. He again basically kind of took a side role in this book, as he has pretty much all the books up to this point. I really hope that we get a book where Matt is more of a focal point character, where he has like a story really based around him. He did to an extent in book 3, but I would like to see more from Matt. I really think that there is some cool things coming from him as a character. I still haven't given up on my opinions that he will become a villain at some point, just because of some of the things that he's displayed, but we'll see about that. But I definitely want to see more Matt going forward. Something worth pointing out about Matt that I actually didn't realize while I was reading this book is like Matt gets so like upset with Rand, like he's so afraid of Rand, of who like Rand might be becoming. But literally in like books especially in book one, we see Rand like stick by Matt so solidly when Matt basically gets like so consumed by the dagger, and Rand stays his friend the whole way through. Um, it's like where are you at, Matt? Like Matt is just not offering the same kind of friendship to Rand. So I thought that that was a little interesting once I realized that Matt maybe isn't, just he's a lot more hesitant about being friends with Rand than Rand was about being friends with Matt. I would say though that Nynaeve, I touched on it already a little bit, but Nynaeve and Elaine, their story, with especially meeting the the the, these names are hard, but Iaganine, I think is her name. Meeting her and just like she's an interesting character. Talk about moral greatness with her. So it'll be really interesting. I hope that those three have a lot more interactions going forward. I actually hope Egwene also gets a chance to meet her because I feel like she would have some less than favorable opinions of her. The next thing worth bringing up about this book is the ending, where I feel like Robert Jordan had definitely fallen into a pattern with the first three books, and he didn't necessarily break that pattern in this fourth book. You know, there's this big battle at the end, but this battle felt a little bit different because Rand was like more in control. He had like not orchestrated it, but it was a lot more interesting, and you feel like he like, because in the first three books it's almost like he's just kind of stumbling his way through it. He felt so much more control in this final battle, and obviously the Forsaken are such cool characters. Lanfear, I love Lanfear as a character. Lanfear is so interesting. She's my far my favorite villain in the series so far. I hope we get so much more Lanfear page time. It's so cool getting her at the end. She's just so manipulative, and obviously she's very powerful. And just she's weird because you don't know exactly where her loyalties lie, because like she is in love with Rand, or at least who Rand used to be, but she's also has ties to the Dark One, obviously. So it's really cool seeing her character, and I'm so excited. Rand is going to get trained by a Forsaken in the next book. That's going to be so interesting, unless they like leave him out of the next book for some reason. I hope Robert Jordan doesn't do that. But I'm really excited. But anyway, I really thought that this ending did shake it up a little bit. Nothing too crazy. I don't know if this is a pattern that's going to remain throughout all the books where there's some big battle at the end. I hope that he mixes up a little bit. Maybe one time where whoever's in the battle fails. That would be interesting. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Shadow Rising. Like I said, it was by far my favorite book in the series so far. We got so much growth. We learned so much about so many different characters. I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it for anybody who's thinking about picking it up. It's a great book. Check it out. Anyway, if you guys disagreed with anything I said in this review, make sure to leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the review, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.